We are talking The Banishing, directed by Christopher Smith and stars Jessica Brown Findlay and John Lynch. Now, this is a classic English ghost story that we kind of see rolled out from time to time. If you're a fan of things like Downton Abbey, but you like to kind of get a bit of ghosts and ghoulies, then this is the movie for you. I believe it takes place in the 1930s, and we have a reverend who is kind of somewhat uptight, shall we say, and his wife, and she has a daughter that was out of wedlock. Not from the reverend, but anyway, they moved to this massive manor house on the behest of this kind of high-up priest called Malachi. Now, when you're called Malachi, you know that there's something dodgy going on, because that's definitely an evil-sounding name. Anyway, there seems to be a presence which is attached to this family, and it seems to affect them all sort of somewhat differently, creating rifts between the guy, the reverend, his wife, and the young daughter, seemingly affecting them and making them sort of turn on each other. Now, there may be a conspiracy here that actually, without giving anything away, although it's kind of relatively obvious, is kind of like, quite deep-rooted, shall we say, although there may be help at hand in an unlikely place from an unlikely stranger. Vague, I know, but there you go. I'm trying not to give away any spoilers to this one. So, let's talk about what works. The thing that stood out to me in this movie is some solid acting. I think the cast do a great job here. This really does show that, a decent sort of character building and a performance can really elevate films, and I gotta say, I really enjoyed the cast here because I thought they did an excellent job. Jessica Brown Findlay as Marianne, who is our point of view character, I thought was a very kind of likeable character that seems grounded, but also kind of like, of her time, but still kind of has a bit of fire within her. And I enjoyed her kind of like her struggle with being of that time, but still kind of having her own mind and her relationships and things like that. And even though there is maybe strained in their relationship, there is still a bond. So I thought it was all excellent, excellently done. I thought the cast here did a great job of, of really portraying some kind of realistic characters and some likeable characters. And again, especially if you were a fan of that kind of like period drama. I think there's an intriguing mystery in this movie as well, because we kind of like, things are kind of peeled back, and maybe people who you think would be on your side maybe aren't, and maybe the opposite is true in some respects. Again, I'm trying to be kind of vague with the plot here, but I quite like, there's some interesting plot threads here, even kind of going to Nazi Germany, which I thought was an interesting little side note. Not much is done with that, but there you go. But nonetheless, there's some sort of intriguing mystery here that kind of keeps you engaged throughout the movie. I think the cinematography is fantastic. The set location looks great. Costuming, it's all very sumptuous design here. And I think, again, if you're a fan of those period dramas, but you like a little bit of kind of like spookiness, then this is the sort of thing for you. Maybe what doesn't work, I think the actual supernatural part of it seems like a B plot for a lot of the time. It's not really until we get towards right to the end that you actually feel that they're actually doing something here. The actual plot seems to be more focused on the relationship with this family and these two other kind of characters that are introduced. One from the church and one who is kind of a bit more of the local madman, for a lack of a better word. And that seems to be the bulk of the plot, with the occasional kind of spooky stuff sort of happening. And at points you almost forget that's a thing. You almost forget that there is this kind of like this supernatural element to this movie. So I think that was underplayed a little bit. And that's so the movie kind of ends up becoming a little bit of a kind of a slow-moving drama at times. And I definitely think if you are, if you're a fan of the Friday the 13th series, this is like the polar opposite of the type of horror film that you're going to be watching here. It is a slow-moving supernatural drama with just a sprinkling of kind of horror twists here, to kind of say that kind of that spooky Christmas ghost story, that feeling that you'll kind of sometimes get. We had a similar film in An English Haunting a little while ago. It's similar to this in a lot of ways. I don't think it kind of leaned into the horror as much as it maybe could have. Like I've said, the horror is so light, you almost forget that it is a kind of a supernatural story at its heart, and it doesn't really come into the forefront until right at the end. And I've got to say, by then, I was a little bit disengaged with it, with that kind of story elements of it, and I don't know, I just wasn't fully on board with that element of it. And there are things that are introduced here, like the Nazi party, for example, was they are introduced, but then you're thinking, oh, you kind of introduce it, but then you never really feel like not a lot is done with it. Now, I think that is a deliberate choice by the filmmakers, but it seems like an odd choice to have introduced that and then to really do nothing with it, is the best way I would describe it. Ultimately, I don't think this is going to be for everyone, because it is such a slow-moving film, and very much is a drama rather than a horror. But if you do like your kind of Downton Abbey sort of style, period movies, but you're also a horror fan, then it maybe will straddle that kind of that divide for you and kind of be of interest. I think it's a well-made film. I think it's a well-acted film. I just don't think there are elements here that will be for everyone, and I think that there are, it could have been just dialed up a little bit more to be a little bit more kind of like exciting, a little bit more horrifying and shocking at times. It kind of feels a little muted. I'll give it a 6 out of 10. What did you think of it? Leave me a comment and I'll look forward to you next time.